April 24th, 2018. I'd like to consider a motion to close the executive session and open the public meeting. Motion. Trustee Rizzo. Trustee Taylor, second. All in favor? Okay. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's a few things that I see our fire department officers here tonight, and we always pray and think of our first responders within the village. The fire department volunteers are a tremendous asset for us, and I know they do a lot for the village and are extremely appreciated. In addition, we have the ambulance corps and the police department. I also want to just take a moment of silence for the two incidents that happened, one in Tennessee recently and the other with our neighbors north in Canada, and another senseless tragedy. So our hearts are with those folks in both of those areas. Liz, I'm going to go down below.
Yes, sir.
So, Chris, I guess.
It's almost
Bring
perfect.
the mic up this way. Do you solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and to carry out the duties of Chief Engineer of the Dobbs Ferry Fire Department to the best of your ability?
Thank you.
Do you solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States
I do.
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
I do.
and to carry out the duties of the First Assistant Chief Engineer of the Dobbs Ferry Fire Department
I do.
to the best of your ability?
I do.
That's my guy. Do you solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States
I do.
and the Constitution of the State of New York?
I do.
Carry out the duties of the Second Assistant Chief Engineer of the Dobbs Ferry Fire Department to the best of your ability. There he is. Do you solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States,
I do.
the Constitution of the State of New York,
I do.
carry out the duties of Captain of the Dobbs Ferry Fire Department, Livingston Post Company,
I do.
to the best of your ability?
I do.
Congratulations. Do you solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States
I do.
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
I do.
carry out the duties of First Lieutenant of the Dobbs Ferry Fire Department, Livingston Hose Company,
I do.
to the best of your ability? Do you solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York, and to carry out the duties of Second Lieutenant of the Dobbs Ferry Fire Department, Livingston Hose Company, to the best of your ability. Wait, that's not your one. Oh, okay. Do you solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York, and carry out the duties of captain of the Dobbs Ferry Fire Department, Ogden Engine Company, to the best of your ability? Let me just say a few words, and I don't know if maybe some of the other trustees want to share. I mean, I know we all appreciate the volunteers of the fire department. They do a great job. You know, I know I'm home sleeping in bed sometimes, and I hear the sirens go off at all hours in the morning, and you guys get out and do the job over and over and over, and not just fires, but
That's why we sound good and want you to know we're out there.
we also come around during the holidays with Santa and do events like that that really makes this a really terrific community. I go out every year to get that little thing again. But I want to thank you all. I mean, some of you guys I've known for years. Dylan, I've known Dylan since he was knee-high to a grasshopper. And his family, his grandfather, Mr. Romano, great guy in Dobbs Ferry, and your mom, Lisa Lazan, was a former trustee in Dobbs Ferry. So but we appreciate all of you guys. And Ed, I tried to get Vinny up here, but
Go ahead.
I'm happy to do it.
so does anybody else want to make a comment?
No, I just want to say that the service that these gentlemen and women on our volunteer fire department do is invaluable to the village. You know, we're going to be approving a budget tonight, and if it weren't for all of you, we would be taxed out of its existence. So you're, and in addition to that, the fact of the time that you volunteer and give and your love for this village is just astounding, and I can't thank you enough.
I second that.
Yeah, I think we all feel that way, right? Without
Yes,
you guys,
thank you.
it would be a very difficult place to live, so thank you for your service, thanks.
And we also got one of the Little League Parade, the chief had the new pumper in, and it's a beautiful truck, by the way.
Oh, I thought I
Their
saw that.
American
It was
flag
so
on the
pretty.
grill,
I didn't notice it.
and a few other things. It was
That's good
really,
Friday.
really came out great, so you guys did a good job on that. We have two more coming.
Yep.
So I thought maybe we'd just take a quick picture.
Yeah.
And have the board stand behind us.
On behalf of the department, I would like to thank you guys for the support that you guys show us.
Thanks, Chris.
We appreciate it. You're really welcome.
Maybe we
So,
can
yeah, get these,
volunteer.
oh, get these out.
No, I'll take it.
You need a volunteer?
Yeah.
There she is.
My God.
You need a selfie stick, yeah.
Squeeze in, guys.
Okay, where's Charlie?
Yeah.
You don't have Charlie, it's not working. Okay. I'll take another one.
Thank
Got it.
you. Thank you very much.
And I'm gonna,
Oh, you want to-
I'll take one of you though.
Another one?
You never have too many.
Some kids.
Yeah, and it's like, you guys are really looking good, like tomorrow you won't.
Great. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, guys. No. I can see a thing. Now let's have some fun.
Okay. Okay, tonight we have a continuation of the public hearing to amend parking restrictions on Stanley Avenue. Being that it's continuation, we have to take a motion.
You can still find.
I don't.
David?
David?
You're still
We're still
open the
open.
public hearing?
Okay.
Okay. Does anybody want to address the board on the Stanley Avenue? Lee, would you like to address the board?
Well, I'm just making just a quick follow-up. Good evening, Ollie Constantine. I'd just like to follow up on what you thought of my letter and comments and backing documents that I did send regarding the matter. And have you had a chance to review the video back in 2012?
I can speak that I reviewed all your documents and I spoke to, I did not have time, unfortunately, to watch the video, but you gave me a synopsis of it, which I presume is accurate. And then we reached out to Phil Greeley, our traffic engineer, to ask for his 2 cents. He's proposed sort of a compromise solution, which I had to print out, but I didn't bring it, so.
I have it.
Oh, good. I have it on my phone, but I didn't want anybody to think I was doing anything else on my phone. I just rushed out of the office, but I have it here. So his proposed solution is that the southern section near Starbucks and Chauncey, those 10 spaces should continue to be kept as no parking, which I asked if it includes a spot by your driveway, and it does.
I would have to do a physical count, and I haven't done that.
You could, but
So-
he confirmed that it did.
Oh, it did?
He said it
Okay,
did.
well, I
He said it
think-
included
Okay,
those 10 spaces covered it.
I also thought of that as a solution too, at least the southerly portion not to have it, because then I think it would make
Right.
it much more safe.
So that we could, continue to monitor it and see how it goes now that it's getting fully occupied, but that the spaces in the north end by Brooklyn Market and Chauncey Park, there's 9 spaces, that those can be allowed. So that was his solution, and then, some signage issues and stuff that he also recommended that I think also came up in, the site plan too.
I did try to foil the site plan, back in, I guess, third week or so in March, and I was told that Pat Harney, I guess the email was from her, that Ed Malin would contact me to set up a time where I could review the site plans, and to date, I haven't received any follow-up emails stating that. And that would be the final plans for the show, but I'm sure that you did all read I don't know whether all of you got a chance to read my packet, the 12-page packet I sent.
Yeah,
outlining
we all-
everything.
we all-
Yeah, I didn't get to see the video, I would.
Yeah.
I think that would have been really helpful to watch that video,
But the 2012, well, finish what you're saying.
because I think that really gives a synopsis of what was going on down there and what also continues to be going on down there and what will go on down there with the occupancy that is current, plus the fact that we have not, as I said in my letter, that we still don't have full occupancy there. It brings to light what really was going on there and as to why the parking was canceled, and I think it was very valid, and the board voted unanimously to cancel it. She spoke out on it, and Bill really believes so did as well. So I think without hearing that, it would be hard to make a decision. But I do like the compromise, and I think that is very reasonable, because I did think of that myself as well. So that is one thing, but I did mention in my letter that also when we have parking across from the supermarket, you're also be faced with people with carts, running back and forth
Right.
to their cars, so I think that's a consideration as well.
Yeah, but another consideration that we have to think about is once they, put that bridge in, people are gonna wanna be using Chauncey Park, and where are they gonna park? People are gonna wanna park for that, but if you don't mind, I can just share with everybody your synopsis from the 2012 video, that it was for safety and congestion issues, mostly due to cars queuing for a drive-in, backing up the Sawmill Parkway, and then cars not being able to go around the parked cars, and I think that, if we agree to go forward with Phil's suggestion, that probably wouldn't be a concern right now anyway, because that would be the spots that would
Yes.
be concerning for it.
In fact, there are a couple of spaces in front of the place.
Right.
That would,
And that's where the drive-in, that's where the drive-through is.
right, that's there, and then also further up towards the house would be
And I also believe that Livingstone was closed for construction too, which is putting even more traffic on Stanley
She's talking about in 2012.
in 2012.
No, there was no construction in 2012. Didn't start till after the lawsuit was settled, which was in 2014.
Yeah.
That's Rivertown Square, but was there anything going on at Chauncey at that time?
No, Chauncey was completed around 2008, 2009,
Yeah,
something
okay.
for that. So, yeah, it was really stated for those reasons.
Yeah, but we also knew that that street was going to be closed.
It may have been urban legend, because I've heard it, but I think it's immaterial really to the discussion we're having now.
Yeah, it's because this is a totally different
Yeah,
situation.
and, you know, the additional spots would be very helpful, as you said, Nicole, for Chauncey Park when it's up and running.
Would that also be paid parking by the village? for
We have not
meters?
decided yet.
Oh, okay.
I think that was the original plan. I don't know what.
That was the original plan, but this is a new board, we haven't done it yet, and I
Right.
believe that you should have the opportunity to look at it.
So I happen to be against parking on the whole way, so I don't think we should allow parking at all on the street. So I do think that the trucks stopping at Brooklyn Market, unloading
Yeah.
stuff, I think if people are gonna run in and out of Brooklyn Market across the street
That's
to
smart
their
concern
cars.
too.
So I just think it's a dangerous situation, so
Right,
I would be against any parking on that
right,
street.
and that's also an objective point of view for us too, because whether they park there or don't, it really has nothing to do with us, you know, especially if we get none from the house. So I would, you know, consider that just from an objective standpoint.
But with the site plan, it was approved to have parking there?
I believe so.
Yes.
No, it was not. If you read the documentation, there is no narrative, there's no site plan that says that they're gonna have parking. That, those drawings, as I mentioned in my letter, were done in 2010. Right before the board, the developers even came to the board, because it was existing parking up until then. And the lineage of that is that the parking was done because Access didn't allow their, you know, the tenants to park their tenants. And then, so they came to the board and asked for parking, and so that once Chauncey Square allowed them to park in that auxiliary lot on Lawrence, they decided they didn't need parking anymore. So that's why, but there's nothing, no narrative, there isn't. So when the developers did the site plan, they just kept those spaces. If you look at the legend, it does specify existing spaces. And they just carried that through. They did not update and change their plans. So when it was approved, it was approved that it was existing parking. Technically, it wasn't because the plans were finally approved in 2014. It said that, you know, it was still existing, whereas it wasn't existing because there was no parking there. So those plans that were approved are not accurate at the time.
I'm comfortable with the compromise as recommended by the engineer. But I would just make the observation, all of this is supposed to be a bit of an open question as Rivertown Square evolves, as it becomes fully tenanted. As, you know, we and our consultants are able to look at traffic patterns, we're supposed to be thinking about this, not necessarily as, you know, something with an infinite time life. We may decide 6 months or a year from now that we should be doing this differently. I think it's something that we need to watch.
See, I would do it the opposite way. I would then have no parking, and then we can come back in 6 months and see how the traffic is after they open up everything. So that's how I would do it. I wouldn't partially allow it, then look at it to ban it. I would ban it totally and look at it in 6 months to a year after they open up everything there, and then you can see how deliveries of the trucks go, where the Chauncey Park goes. So my opinion was we should ban it totally, and then if we want to look at it in 6 months to a year, that we could do.
Right, and we also have the nuance now, so that the photos that I sent demonstrate that with AT Village, just parking on the road there, and not only that, but parking on the sidewalk on Livingstone. I mean, that's a whole nother issue that we need to look at and need to enforce, that the sidewalk wasn't built for 18-wheelers. I mean, and then what about the bike lanes? Will there be a bike lane on Stanley as
Yes,
proposed?
the bike lane was supposed to be on the 8-foot width. That's why we've got the extra wide sidewalk. That's where the bike is supposed to be a shared path. The problem is that there are electric poles on that, on the sidewalk, which are supposed to be moved, but they can't be moved because unfortunately they can't get into, what I've been told is that they can't be moved because they can't get into your house to do the hookup.
We haven't been we heard about it, but there's been no formal meeting, there's been no formal anything, so that is, I think, up in the air because of Rivertown Square for whatever reason.
So can we arrange for that, maybe through Charlene, maybe, to arrange for that so they can get in there?
We're gonna have to talk to them and see what the proposal is and what it entails, and et cetera, and we can find people to contact, however it's done.
But that's where the bike lane is supposed to be.
Well,
Where the sidewalk is?
Yes, it's a shared, it's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be a shared pedestrian sidewalk.
yeah,
bicycle.
one of the issues for the shared sidewalk is that there is a pole there, a telephone pole there, that, that we're trying to get into your house, Con Ed or Verizon want to get into your house to do the underground lines, and they have not been able to get access.
Well, I've not received anything formal that
I
states
believe
that
there's
I
been a
have to
number,
do it.
that's great, so if you haven't received it, then I can get in touch with you. Can you leave where I can get in touch with you so I can set a time?
You can tell me who the Con Ed people are, who we're supposed to.
No,
talk to.
I'll arrange it, I'll arrange it. So just give me a contact and I'll get in contact with them and we can set a date.
And so you're saying that that's where the part of the.
I'm saying that that is one of the issues that is involved in getting a total plan for the bike lane.
So are you saying that if that pole isn't there, is there one pole that's stopping a
I
bike
think
lane
there's
from being
four.
there?
I think there's 4.
There's four poles that go to that house?
Yes.
And,
That's what's stopping the bike lane?
well, yes, because, well, it's also interfering with handicap too, because of the, you can't have a bike lane and wide enough for a wheelchair, because it just,
Okay, but even if, all right, so-
I'm not, Lee, I don't think this is the proper time to debate it. This is one of the things that was in the site plan, that those things were going to be removed, and they're sort of unsightly anyway. So, as long as I have a contact for you, I could arrange that to happen. And I'm sorry if nobody really interacted with you.
And so you think that's the only thing that's stopping?
I'm not saying that that's the only thing, but I think that is a major issue.
Okay, and so moving fast forward, then if the poles are all out of there, then, and there can't be a bike lane on that sidewalk, then where would the bike lane go?
It was designed to be 8 feet wide so that it could accommodate, it's gonna be a shared path.
Both pedestrian and
Both
bike.
pedestrian and bikes.
Because I know I've seen, I have pictures actually, and I would like to give it to the board, there's a picture like that in another, I think it's Pennsylvania, forgot where it was, but anyway, they have like the bike lane on, like, this was this one road, I think it's a one-way possibly, and they have the bike lane, but they have the cars, but then they have like a neutral area, whereas the cars are so separate from the bike lane, and that really makes it safe for bikers, and, that they are shielded, in other words, from cars running up against it.
Yeah, there are a number of different designs
Yeah.
for protected bike
Because
lanes.
if you didn't have parking there, you could certainly have ample space for a bike lane.
Well, actually, a protected bike lane really need to be on Danforth, that's another issue.
Okay, thank you all.
Thanks, Lee.
According to Phil, the parking spaces in the site plan included the 19 spaces on Stanley. I mean, that doesn't mean that we can't look at it now and say that the site plan can be amended based on use, that we don't need those extra 19 spaces. And I'm not adverse to what Vinnie's suggesting, a short-term, keeping it no parking and then a short-term review of that, like in 3 or 6 months.
Others may be more familiar with the exact logistics of this area, but as I think about it, in my head, if you actually don't have parking, particularly by Brooklyn Market, is that going to encourage more trucks and others to use it as a loading zone? In
That's
other
true.
words, if there are parking spaces there, they're either going to pull off the road or they're going to be clearly blocking the road and concerned about getting tickets and the
Right.
rest of it. Whereas if you leave that space open, it's going to get filled potentially by trucks.
There's a possibility of that too.
I think you should see them be welcome to speak.
Good. Anybody else
Can I
want?
ask them first to give you this, that I,
Sure.
or to keep this, make copies and stuff?
Anybody else like to say
Another
a few words?
example of how.
Address the board. Do we want to take a vote? Or do we not?
I think we have to amend this anyway. if it wants to.
Well, we can't vote on the legislation as it's drafted unless we were going to allow parking for all 19 spots. So I don't know where everybody on the board is sitting right now on whether doing the compromise temporarily and seeing how that plays out, or doing the no parking. I mean, my concern with the trucks on the converse to what Larry's saying, which I agree with what he's saying, is that they're gonna use it as a loading zone, but just be double parked around the cars. And does that create a more dangerous situation? But I don't know that we'll really know until we decide to just do something and see how it plays out.
I mean, then you raised a good point.
No,
I thought the
this loading
compromise-
zone is
But is there a loading zone down there?
I don't believe so.
I think I think they're supposed to be going into, I think they're
Right.
supposed to go into the
Yes.
parking.
The parking
area, 'cause
garage,
that's
Yep.
that's where the
Parking
loading dock
underway,
is.
whatever, yeah.
So regardless, I mean, the way this is written,
You'd have to change it.
David, can we take a vote and then change the resolution
Can I
to
ask a
conform to the
question?
vote?
So if the goal is to make sure that we have parking for Chauncey Park when Chauncey Park is open, which is like
Soon, hopefully.
soon?
Hopefully.
Yes, the,
Okay. But for now, what the parking will be used mostly for is Brooklyn Market, people crossing the street with a cart, crossing Stanley with a cart to go.
Oh, well, that's a good point, Christie, because I think in
Right?
Phil's memo, there, he mentioned that if you leave the 9 parking spots, you have to add
We
crosswalks.
have to have a
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Actually,
So then you
bring it
have
to
to add
the
the
traffic
crosswalk.
committee tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And carts, I mean, like carts won't end up over there floating around, will they?
sure.
Then going to.
But don't forget, I'm not, quite honestly, if these spaces are needed, I doubt if anybody's gonna really be going into Brooklyn Market in those spaces.
Brooklyn Market has
Sure.
Because you'd be
parking.
better off going into the free space for
There's just
a
not
half
that
hour of
many.
shopping.
There's not that many spots for the free spaces
Well, you can also
right there.
go upstairs.
You can go upstairs,
Yeah.
but that's much closer to go
Yeah.
across the street
Yeah.
to the meter.
But I'm just saying meters might discourage that, may or may
But
not
you
discourage
raise a
that.
good point, you've got the loading trucks coming in and trying to maneuver around cars that are there. Maybe it's better if we,
But is it, I think the driveway in front of, Brooklyn Market, there's no parking across from that, is there?
No.
No,
No.
from the driveway itself.
no.
Yeah.
But I think that they have plenty of parking. Like, I don't see why a person that is going into the supermarket will have to actually park across the street to go inside the supermarket. There's plenty of parking in there.
Just hopefully it's
So I'm
getting more
thinking
and
for
more
Chauncey.
crowded and it might become a problem if they're doing well.
Yeah, stay home.
Can I
See what
just
they do.
say one more and then just a question? But if somebody wants to go to Chauncey Park, would they not be allowed to park in Rivertown Square? I kind of thought that.
Of course they can.
Yeah,
Of course they can.
Of course they can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can park upstairs or down.
Some things, I don't
That
think
would be
parking.
an easier.
There's
way
plenty of
to-
parking.
Chauncey would
Well-
rather be parking.
Yeah, it's just easier to walk.
Logistics.
But if you're at Chauncey Park, you're gonna be walking from there.
So I guess.
Yeah, people are lazy by nature.
Right, I don't know how, I mean, if you want to vote on this as it is, or you want to vote on it with the suggestion of Phil.
I think Larry
or
had something
just-
else to say.
if, there's no parking there now, right?
Right.
So, and Chauncey Park's not open yet. So I wonder if it doesn't make sense for us to, those of us who have questions or are still following up, to talk, to go maybe over this compromise with Phil, to think about it, maybe take another pass to look at it, and in the meantime, maybe there won't be any parking there until we vote on something, and then there might or might not be. So in other words, I'm suggesting that perhaps that we continue this for another 2 weeks, rather than make a decision now, when many of us, including myself, seem to be on the fence about it.
Well, that's a fair point too, because I was gonna ask Donna if the traffic committee's weighed in on
No,
Phil's
they haven't
proposal.
made it,
Well, that would be
So it'd be good to
particularly
helpful to hear from them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe they did previously, though,
They did what?
weigh in on it.
On the issue in general, but not
Yeah.
necessarily Phil's
Oh,
compromise
right,
proposal.
absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so we can table this, do we need to, we can close the public hearing.
Well, the question is, do you want to close the public hearing? In which case, if there were any changes, you would need to open a new public hearing versus keeping this hearing
keep it
open
open.
Right.
for a subsequent meeting, which is
Right.
what the board had done previously.
Right.
And then if there are discussion points to go over, make that part of any future public hearing.
Okay.
Okay.
So
But don't we have to do that if we
Yeah.
change this resolution, say to either use Phil's
Yes.
compromise or make it no parking, whatever we end up wanting to do? or some third option, I guess, don't we have to renotice it for a public hearing? So it makes sense to keep it
It makes
open,
sense,
and then we
yes.
can renotice, we can just
Correct.
publish this new legislation or proposed
Correct.
legislation, right?
Yes.
So I would keep it open.
Now we have courtesy of the floor.
And wait, I would suggest that we all watch that 2012 video, since we're
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
fully educated, I think it's important.
Does anybody want to pass, ma'am?
Okay. Come on through.
Yeah. Just state your name and address.
Start working on
My name is Judy Michelson. I live at 100 Cedar Street, Village Green, and I'm with the Dobbs Ferry Conservation Advisory Board. And I'd like to invite everyone to join us on May 5th with the Hudson River Suite that's organized by the River Keeper. And it's a great day of service, they call it, where different locations along the Hudson River, from the upper Hudson Valley down to New York City. There are individual cleanups along the shorelines of the Hudson River. And in Dobbs Ferry, we're going to have a cleanup at the waterfront park. We're going to meet at the beach area and then progress along the shoreline to clean up trash and debris. You
Bless
can
you.
register
Thank you.
online with the riverkeeper.org/suite, or you can sign up and register on the day of the cleanup on May 5th at 10 o'clock. We're also going to be recording different items that we find along the shoreline and collect them on data sheets and send them to the river keeper. And this is just a way for us in the community, Dobbs Ferry, Rivertown, and others can give back to the Hudson by cleaning up the shorelines and make people enjoy and appreciate the Hudson River. We recommend people to wear sturdy shoes and gloves if they come. Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
I will try to be there.
9 o'clock,
Doesn't
right?
do it there last time?
Yeah. We also did it this weekend for Earth Weekend, which is great. And it looked much better at the end of the day, Saturday. Well, it was terrific. Anybody else like to address the board? Yes, sir.
My name is John Boris, I live at 25 Bellevue Drive. Is the board aware of the problem that we're having down at Waterfront Park for commuters parking?
No.
We're getting on the train.
Now, why don't you share?
Please.
I had to go to court this week for my wife who works late on Thursday nights, because she got 2 tickets parking down there. So while I was waiting for my name to be called, for her name to be called, 2 or 3 or 4 people, I lost count, went up and said, and the first guy said, Judge Harwood said, "Oh, what are you doing here? I see you down there all the time. Why did you get a ticket?" He goes, "Well, I was forced to park in the recreation spot because of the construction that's going on Metro North, and they've got it all cordoned off, so somewhere between 15 and 20 spots are gone. In addition to which, of course, this year, the tickets, the permits for commuters were oversold because they let more people buy those commuter tickets than usually are allowed to, beyond Dobbs Ferry residents. So we started out with too many being sold, and now we have lost parking spaces. So while I waited to defend my wife's tickets, 3 or 4 people got called up. Judge Harwood would say over and over again, "What are you doing here?" And they'd say, "Oh, I had to park in the scooter park, I had to park in the rec park, I'm dismissing the ticket." This is not how that court should run, in that people are just getting ticketed all the time for parking in non-commuter spots, and then having to go to traffic court to explain why they're doing that. So, since you guys aren't aware of it, my second question was, have you thought of any solutions for the problem?
Well, there's a few things. One is, unless
We
somebody
cannot
else
have a
wants to take
solution if
this,
we don't have a problem.
we actually sold more tickets the year before than this year.
More permits, you mean?
More permits. Yeah.
He's like, yeah.
More
We
permits.
can control that.
And also, we don't really have control over Metro North when they're doing the work, I think, on that generator system down there, which hopefully won't take much longer.
I believe, Mayor, it's going to be
June.
sometime in June that they're going to finish.
June.
It
Really?
it was very much later, but now it's June.
At first, it was only a few spots that were taken, now I understand it's the same. But we also have overflow parking. If you can't get a spot in the main lot, there's a secondary lot at Half Moon, which is on the north
The
side.
very north, just the very, very north section.
Which needs to be extremely well publicized, because none of the people who were in traffic court this Thursday night had any idea that was going to include my wife. We went to the police station 3 times, and asked the police chief to call her back. He never gave her the courtesy of a call back, and it wasn't until she met a very friendly officer who happened to know my daughter when she went to school here. And he
Right.
said, oh, you know, you can park at Half Moon. Nobody knows that.
Well, the mayor did put that in his newsletter when he
Yeah.
first got into office, and I know friends of mine learned about it from his newsletter.
There's also.
And I can tell you from somebody, because we're supposed to try to park in that lot as trustees, and so I park there very frequently, and there are a lot more cars in their lot than there were last year. So more people are aware of it.
Yeah, but you have to be, was it 6 or 7 that you need to?
You need to be out by a certain time because Half Moon wants the lot.
I want
Well,
the
I-
restaurant cut.
On another perspective, Half Moon has been purchasing parking permits from our town, right? Don't they pay for those little pieces of paper that they put in the window in the summer when they use our?
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that once they started giving us their spaces in their lot for overflow parking, we.
Right,
quid pro
but
quo.
what I'm saying is that for many, many years, having lived here for a quarter of a century, they get papers they put in their windshield that allows them in their peak hours during the summer to have their patrons park at Dobbs Ferry waterfront. I
Yeah.
believe in the past, they used to pay for that, but be that as it may, and they always violated what they were supposed to do. Those people would always park in the rec spots because they didn't know any better or they pretended they didn't know any better. There should be some way, not everybody comes home at 6 o'clock. People who work in the city don't always come home at 6 o'clock. So the issue is when you go in the morning and there's no place to park, and you have to park in the Half Moon spot, and you're gonna get home at 7 or 8, you're gonna get a ticket. You're gonna have to go to traffic court again. And that shouldn't be happening in our town.
So you're asking for the rec spaces to be opened up, is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think that's an appropriate solution either. I
just
don't think that's
pointing it
fair
out.
for the rec space to disappear. I think you have to think out of the box and come up with some creative solutions.
Well, we're finishing up a parking lot. It's a little bit of a walk, but at the bottom of Cedarville.
People are trying to make a trend. You know, I think you should renegotiate with Half Moon, and you should say, listen, you're gonna put your people in our lot in the summer when you have peak hours. In return for that, we need the courtesy of parking in your lot and not out of there at 6.
Yeah. They're actually flexible during the week because they don't, it's not as crowded during the week. It's on the weekends that they want.
Well, we
that.
can't park there on the weekends.
No, I understand.
The weekend's not the issue, most people aren't commuting in on the weekends. The other thing is you have 12 spots for Hudson Social. Most of those spots are not used during the day. People come in the morning, they get a bagel, a cup of coffee, they get on the train. People come at night, after they come off work, they sit down, have beer, dinner. That's when they use those peak spots. Maybe you could take back some of those spots in the meantime.
Well, it's part of the lease.
I know.
I think it's a,
That's a good point.
But every resident pays
Yeah.
I think-
$400 for those permits.
yep, I think it's a fair point for us to look at the lot and see how many spots they've been taking, because I tend to take a later train, so I end up parking all the way down past the bathrooms now, and I do notice it gets a little bit further. So I think I want to thank you for bringing it to our attention, because I didn't know about it even as a commuter. And I think it's something we can have our parking
Yeah.
enforcement and the police look into. How full is the lot? How many days a week? Is there certain days that are more, where we need to factor it in more or not? And I think in the next newsletter, we can, advertise the overflow lot again, so more people are aware of it, and then we can see where we are,
You could also,
Yeah.
you could also tell
After
the
that.
police officers to stop ticketing those people who have commuter permits and are parking in motorcycle spots or rec spots. But I don't think that's really fair to the people who.
That's not fair
That's unfair
to
to the rec
families or
people.
others who use the rec spot, so that doesn't
But
solve the
this should
problem.
only be a problem once the Metro North people leave. I mean, would it clear up then, do we think?
Well,
Yeah, but that's
better
in a
than
couple of
all
months.
people.
The other thing too is the chief is looking at, if people need to have permits, parking on Palisade and High Street, if you can't get a
Oh,
spot.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, so,
That's a good idea.
and those are empty a lot because
But
people don't want to.
until something happens, everybody's gonna be in traffic court.
Yeah, Well, we will send another communication out.
Can I ask you something? Is this something that is just happening now due to the construction? Because I run in the mornings and I just happen to run down there and I never see the lot completely full. So it's hard for me to, I haven't been down there because the weather has not been cooperating, but is it hard for me to believe that they are always full? Because I run towards the back of the field and those parking spaces are never full. 8, 9 o'clock, which all the commuters are already gone by then.
No, they're not all gone. Some people go in later.
Yeah, it fills up at like 10 or 11 when it fills
Yeah,
up.
and unfortunately, the people who are coming in late to the city later probably also are staying later.
Right.
The overflow lot works less well for them. The communication is important, and I certainly think one of the things we're looking at is trying to improve the signage, because even notwithstanding this issue, the signage has been terrible down there, but it would be maybe helpful to address overflow alternatives, so that people, not just in the newsletter, but also in some of the signage.
Right.
But I think a quick fix to avoid all these people going to traffic court would be, one, to publicize the parking availability at Half Moon, even though some people know about it, not everybody. And two, to not have the officers ticket people who get home after 6 o'clock, who have commuter permits on their cars.
I'm not sure those are the
but
tickets that
I
you're
think that
talking
I don't
about.
think that they're giving out tickets at 6.
the problem is that the people that then have the
Aren't they the ones that are
recreation,
in the motorcycle
Well,
spots and the
those are the ones
recreation?
that were there, but I mean.
I think that's what, those are the ones that
They have to
happen.
be out by 6, right?
Yeah,
Are you
that's,
talking about the overflow lot?
yes.
Yeah, they're not over there, they don't give tickets
Well,
out there.
if they're not ticketing those, then that should be the solution for the whole
Yeah.
thing, just tell everybody to park in the overflow.
It's just our agreement with Half Moon is that
Yeah,
they're
we
out of
just
there by
can't.
6.
We can't be abusive. Like I said before, I really think it's great that you came and told us, because
Yes,
I don't think
thank
anyone
you.
on the board is
For
aware of it.
taking
and
the
now we can
time, because
at
we
least
know.
look into it, and I do think it's a temporary problem during this construction, but that is for another 2 or 3 months, which can be very inconvenient and unfair to people, so we should look into it and see if there's a short-term
The other
solution.
thing-
The other thing they do is they've driven off, I mean, I don't park there, this much. I hear all this from other people who park there, they've driven off, quarter
They do,
mile
yeah.
here. And I'm told by respectful people in the community that a lot of times there's nothing going on in the areas they've driven off, that there are plenty of spots, now whether they're loading and unloading.
I don't know what they're doing.
Whether they can be doing what they're doing more efficiently, so it takes up fuel for spots. I don't know.
Anna,
Well,
always
we'd have
the
to
little
check with
thing.
At different times of day, they do different things down there. Like in the morning, sometimes at 6:45, you'll see a column of dump trucks, which causes its own problem because they go down the hill very slowly and people don't allow an extra 30 seconds to get to their train.
Right.
So I think at different times of the day, they're doing different things. So they may, I'm not defending them necessarily, they may need that space when they're dumping gravel or doing other things that involve heavy equipment.
And if you hear any of these complaints, or anybody you know that goes down there and doesn't get a spot, can you have them email us so that we
Yes,
know?
so
Because
we-
all we know is anecdotal,
Just come to traffic court.
Good point. I mean, we could start asking them more.
Beat them all.
But thank you for bringing that up to our attention.
Yes,
Jen.
thanks.
Thank you, yeah.
Metro North the chief is now charging Metro North for those
They are,
parking
yeah.
spaces. So therefore, they're moving a little more quickly.
That's a start.
Very good. Okay, anybody else want to address the board? Okay, consider a resolution to adopt the final 2018-2019 fiscal year budget. Jeff or Charlene? Charlene is our budget.
Yes, but I'm going to let Jeff do
Jeff
this
is our
one.
treasurer. Did you want to make a?
No, I want to thank everybody for working so hard on this budget. Jeff did an unbelievable job. The departments were very, very helpful too. And of course, the mayor and board did their due diligence, and I think we have come to a budget that is not only viable, but will be very effective for the quality of life for the village residents.
Great. Jeff?
I also want to thank the department heads and the board and the mayor for their help this year with this budget. As you know, this is a similar budget to the original tentative budget with a couple of exceptions. The levy was increased by approximately $380,000. An offset on the expense side in the general fund is a capital projects transfer line of $355,000. Then the library received an additional $25,000 of tax levy funding. And basically, the tax rate is essentially the same as the current, just a little bit lower than the current.
You want to say that loud?
I'll say it, and also say it with a thank you to Charlene, to Jeff, to the entire village staff for maintaining a very tight control on expenses in an environment that, where you wake up every morning a little bit behind where you were the day before cost-wise. And I think it's a tremendous victory for the village to be able to keep that levy per thousand essentially flat in this kind of environment, and to be responsible in terms of putting some money aside for future capital projects that are going to help move the village forward. So thank you.
Thank you,
I
Joe.
agree, and as the liaison to library board, I'm sure everyone saw the email that they are more than thrilled that the board gave them back money in their budget for personnel and additional books so they can have a more robust sharing library. So I thank everyone for listening to them and taking that into consideration.
Great. I want to, I think it's a terrific story. I mean, Charlene, you've done a great job with working with Jeff, the village staff, all the employees that come up with ideas here and there that help to save the village money, the shared services, the board of trustees and the liaisons that work with those different areas. And also, I want to thank the prior board, Mayor Bobby Connett, and Deputy Mayor Vic Golio, and there's 4 people here that were on the prior board that made some tough decisions over the last couple of years, and it's starting to pay off a little bit anyway now. To where I don't think it's ever been done before in Dobbs Ferry, where we've not had an increase. And that is, I mean, I've talked to many of the villages around, and I've seen what they've recommended to their boards, and it's, you've really done a great job. And we can't promise that every year. I want to make sure that everybody understands that. But I think it's, with the new federal law being passed on taxes, I think it's good that we have the ability to give some type of, little bit of a break to our taxpayers, and we have some big jobs ahead because we actually put some of that money away in a fund that we could use for capital expenses. So it was a great job, everybody working together, and I want to thank everybody for that. The village is better off for it. Thank you all. So I'd like to take a motion to. Oh, Trustee Till, who was the liaison to the budget committee, and I forgot to thank the budget committee.
That's not why I raised my hand. I thought you were going to make.
He was gonna make a motion.
I thought you were, I was going to make a motion.
He's making the motion.
Second to adopt the budget.
He's making the motion, yes.
You're going to make the motion?
But yeah, thanks for the
Second.
opportunity.
Deputy Mayor, Patel, all in favor? So let me thank the budget committee, and Paul Stern, who I forgot to thank, because they had a big part in this, and they attended meetings and so forth, and they continue to come up with great ideas as we move forward in the future. So that's unanimous. Consider a motion to authorize the police chief to sign an updated parking ticket management services agreement with ComPlus Data Innovations. Did you want to touch base there, Shelley?
Yes, sure. We were all involved in it, Jeff, myself, and the chief. And actually, this is a great deal. This is the same company we've used before, but technology being what it is, it's always improving, and it has, again, which not only gives us better ticket readers, it's real-time ticket readers, but it also, the percentage has dropped from 13% that we pay ComPlus to 12.25. Yeah, maybe if I put on my glasses, I could see. So not only do we get better machinery, we have to share less. basically. And the court is very involved in this, too. Betsy was at the meeting with us, and we discussed it. We had John Salvi, we had, of course, the chief, and we all agreed that when technology doesn't cost more, you get it. So, there you have it.
Thank you.
I think it's great that we're saving some money here, but one of the things I'd like, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in the next week or two, but I do think that it would benefit the board to be able to get an overall report on parking and on, how the meters are working, what the economics look like, and maybe some comparisons with what we had in place with the older meters. I just think it would be useful for us as we consider going forward, to have a better sense of, for lack of a better term, thinking about the parking as a business. In other words, how much revenue is it generating, what are its costs, and is it accomplishing the goals of creating appropriate turnover and providing enough parking for residents?
I am writing this down, and I will talk to the chief.
Great.
Because he gets readouts, as does Jeff, and we'll put together something that we can report to you on a regular basis.
Thank
That'd
you.
be really helpful
Thank you.
for 99-seater, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have a motion? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee DeMasi, all in favor? Unanimous. Consider a motion to approve ordinance number 3, 4, and 5 for April 2018 as recommended by the village treasurer. Do you have any comments?
I have no additional comments.
I would I'll make a motion that we accept.
Second. Trustee Zillo, all in favor? Unanimous. Consider a motion to approve a request from the Dobbs Ferry Conservation Advisory Board and Riverkeeper to have the 7th annual Riverkeepers Hudson River Suite at Waterfront Park and the Beach, May 5th, 2018, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Motion. Deputy Mayor Purcell. Trustee Till, second. All in favor? Unanimous. I plan to be there, so I'll see you down there. Consider a motion to approve a request from the Ardsley School District to place signs for the Ardsley School budget vote at various village locations from May 9th, 2018 to May 16th, 2018. Motion. Trustee Zillo, second. Trustee Taylor, all in favor? Unanimous. Minutes, April 10th, 2018. Do we have comments? We'll take a motion to approve.
Whoever.
That
That one?
The lady down.
Let's do that one.
Trustee Taylor, all in favor? It's unanimous. Correspondence and claims. Do you have anything? Mark, do you have anything you'd like to report?
No, I just really want to thank Jeff and Charlene, as well as the staff and department heads for the great job that they did with the budget. Same thing with you, Mr. Mayor, and the other colleagues of trustees. I know that you guys put so much work into this, so thank you so much, Charlene, for the great job that you guys did. Thank you, Jeff.
Trustee Nell?
Yeah, for River Arts, they had the studio tour this past weekend. I don't have any numbers from Doug, the executive director, but it seemed very crowded over at 145 Palisade. And this year, they had partnered with Metro North on promoting the tour. So hopefully, there was a lot more traffic coming from the city, because people could find out about it at Grand Central. And so, yeah, that was awesome. And then ongoing still in Dobbs Ferry, and our storefronts, most of us were there for the grand opening. They have pieces of art in the windows, and that's going to be up for another week. So I encourage anybody to go walk by, see the art that's still up, and celebrate art for the next week. And then for the task force, the Downtown Improvement Task Force that we started up last week, we had our initial meeting today. My report. just like the small handful of us that are getting it started. And it's a great, like, it's a really good group of people, and I feel like there's gonna be a lot of good reporting done and recommendations that they'll be able to make. So, yeah, I want to thank them. As a part of that, Maggie Segert was part of that, and she, this is her last meeting tomorrow night as the Rivertown's Chamber of Commerce president, which she did, like, so much work to get that off the ground and get it to where it is today. So this is just the beginning of our thanks to her. But tomorrow night's the last meeting for her. It's at 6:30 at Piccola. And then they'll be moving forward. There's a great board in place. There's people in all the 3 different villages so far, except Ardsley. It's Hastings and Dobbs and Irvington each have a board member. So it's in good hands. It's going to keep going and growing and getting better. But so there's a co-president in Irvington that's chosen, and then we're hoping to have 2 presidents so that the duties are not so fallen on one person, because it's just a lot of work. I mean, it's like running a nonprofit, and it's a lot of work, so.
Maggie's done a terrific job.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really,
And she's doing, I mean, she's already done a ton of work just for the task force, like doing research and stuff for that, so that's awesome. She's great.
that's great.
One question, will the downtown task force be announcing meetings, and will those meetings be open if people want to come?
Yeah, we're trying to.
Share ideas or participate or work
Yeah,
on
that's where we're
projects?
figuring out what the process would be.
Great.
There's been a lot of awesome people that have reached out already just to me personally.
Great.
So there's gonna be opportunities for people to give their feedback and information if they don't have time to commit to actually being on a task force. And then we need to grow it to have enough people to actually do the research that we're
Right.
talking about, coming up with recommendations. So it's gonna keep growing, and anybody can keep reaching out, and then we're gonna figure out the next steps from here.
The nominating committee.
And the nominating committee
I hate to
meets.
forget the nominating committee.
I'm
But,
sorry.
there are, like Donna, just, the CAB, Conservation Advisory Board,
Yeah.
we need a few people on that board, we talked a little bit about that tonight, that board. There's other boards,
Yes.
there's plenty,
Reach out to Liz, and the nominating committee has a list of the vacancies, so they know who they're trying to attract. But anybody who's interested in volunteering for the village in any capacity, just reach out to Liz. There's a form on their website. It says volunteer, and click that, and then she'll send it on the way to the nominating committee so they can help fill those spots. But there's a ton of spots,
Yeah.
and between Liz and Paula, who's the chair of the committee, they have those, and they can start working to fill those.
even if somebody just wants to get started, they
Yeah.
can start with the nominating committee.
And then they can help.
And they get a feel for all the different committees.
Yeah, the beautification department needs some volunteers, and now that the spring is just here, the village definitely can use the extra help, because there's a lot of work that it needs to be done, and we definitely can use some extra help. So I encourage people to please get involved.
Great, thank you. Trustee Sullivan? Thanks, Trustee.
Yeah, so the library is hosting an open forum on May 15th from 7:30 to 9 to launch their Envisioning the Future. It's basically a public kickoff of their strategic planning process that they have to create a new vision and strategic plan for the library over the next 12 months. So the more people to come, the better. And Senior Week is going to start the week of May 13th, and we have to thank our church, Our Lady of Pompeii, and Half Moon for generously donating space, and Half Moon for generously donating another amazing meal for the seniors to feast on Wednesday. No, you can do it. I don't have it.
This is just, that's like,
I don't have them, so you can say, I don't care, it doesn't matter.
this one is Meet the Raptors. I guess it's a production that was done by Teatown Lake Reservation up in Firefoot, Rhode Island. Beautiful spot. Thursday, May 24th, 2017, from 3:45 p.m. to 4:45 p.m. in the community room. And digital stories of wild animal anatomy. Tuesday, May 1st, 2018, from 6 to 9. It looks very interesting. Anything else, Trustee?
That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to make sure people are aware that Friday, May 4th is the Dobbs Ferry School Foundation Gala. Tickets are still available. It's a wonderful cause supporting the Dobbs schools and also is a lot of fun.
Fantastic. Yeah, it was a great time last year. That one came.
Is this at Arts and
It's
Country
at Arts
Club
and
this
Country
year?
Club this year, that's right.
It was a lot of fun last year. That's great. Thank you.
Tree planting, the tree planting on the
Yeah, I was gonna get to that.
27th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trustee Rizzo.
I don't have anything.
Yeah, as trustee Rosie was talking about, the tree consortium is, along with a bunch of other people, I don't have the list in front of me unfortunately, they're sponsoring a tree planting on this Friday at 9 o'clock at Springhurst School in honor of Arbor Day. So that should be fun. The kids are gonna be planting it along with the mayor.
Anything with the tree?
That's awesome.
I like that.
You're gonna plant a tree.
What's your location?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We talked about May 5th, the Hudson River cleanup, so I support that wholeheartedly, and hopefully we'll get a good crowd out there. We also have, I guess this is from Tim Idoni, who is the Westchester County Clerk, about facilitating obtaining passports. So you can look online about that. Gives you, I guess there's brochures that they give us, brochures.
They're actually going to have the mobile passport unit van parked just outside of the police station on Main Street.
Here?
Yes.
Oh, that's huge.
And, yes.
From 11 to 2?
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. That's convenient.
Oh, yes.
We did that for our son in Hastings last year. It's great, it's gonna be in Dobbs.
Um, And Liz, did you want to comment on anything, Liz? Anything else?
No.
Thank you for your, the hydrant notifications on an almost daily basis. The hydrant cleaning.
4 o'clock, that's when they send it.
Oh, and they, they sent it at like 10 minutes to 4, so they always went out late. But I let Charlene know as well that we're just notified that they're done now. So we're good till next year.
Fantastic. I also want to thank all the volunteers over the weekend for all the different things that we held in the village. We had the cleanup on the waterfront, which was great, and we had the cleanup at the Sawmill River.
There were a bunch of people at Memorial Park cleaning up too. That's where I went, yeah.
Great. And then we had the Little League Parade with all those parents and volunteers and coaches and sunshine.
The awesome band.
And finally, band and some great baseball weather. It was terrific. So opening day turned out to be great. So thank you to everybody. There were a few other things going on. We had the American Legion flea market that looked like it was a big success when I was down there. There were a lot of people. We also had our friends from the Asian Indian Cultural Society of Westchester at the park. And it looks like they had a good crowd.
Celebration of color, right?
A lot of fun, and got we all chalky with the different
Did you do
colors,
it?
so. Huh?
Did you get it?
Yeah.
When was that?
Sunday.
It was Sunday,
Oh, really?
right when the flea market was going on the riverside. Flea market was in the park. So everything, it was a big weekend, and it was Dobbs Ferry, and that's great for the community and for the, so thank you all very much, and we'll adjourn.